What does it say, please? 2025.
Yeah. Yeah, are we okay to start?
Recording check.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Just checking. Okay, thank you everybody. Can I welcome everybody to this meeting, Mumbles Community Council of 10th of September 2024. Attending, if we move to item 1 on the agenda, which is apologies for absence. Have we got any apologies for absence?
Apologies, Jack. I've got Councillor Brian Evans, Councillor Amelia Cox, and Councillor Tim Zoo.
Tim's on holiday, isn't it? Okay. Okay, so can we move on to declarations of interest, please? Any declaration?
Yeah, just on the on the social member of the group.
Okay, yeah, that we noted. Any other declarations of interest? If not, we'll move on to public participation. Where members of the public may make representations, answer questions, and give evidence of meetings of respective business on the agenda. I can't see any members of the public in attendance here.
Oh, that's
Last one. Yeah. He just looks a bit different on the down. That's Rob, our
Yes, just settling in, so yeah, it's great to see you, some of you.
Just attended this meeting. Yes. So if that's the case, can we move on to item 4, which is minutes of the monthly meeting held on the 9th of July 2004. You have it's in your meeting pack. So if I go through page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. And then all the other documents which are in the pack are part of the appendices. So are we happy to accept those? Can I have somebody propose that? Pam?
Yeah.
Can we second it? Okay, thank you very much for that. So if we move on to item 5 now then.
Sorry, Chair, there's a special meeting on 3rd of July. Minutes of that meeting as well. The 30th of July. There's 2 lots.
Oh yeah, sorry, I thought there was 2 lots. Yeah, so the meeting is for the 30th of July. Oh yes, sorry, my mistake. They're in the same thing. Yeah, so if we go through the minutes of the 30th of July, page 1, page 2, page 3, 4, page 5, page 6, page 7. So unless there's any queries, are we happy to accept those as well? Can I have a proposer? Francesca, seconder, Ian, Scott? Okay, thank you for that. So we're happy to okay both those sets of minutes. So then if we move on to item 5, which is the chair's report, which I've got prepared here. Dear all, can I take this opportunity to welcome you all back from the summer recess over August. That said, although we suspended most official business during the month, it cannot be said that MCC have been idle over these past 4 weeks. Throughout August, councillors and staff have been busy, most notably with our Family Fun Days. I'm pleased to report that, like Mumbles Fest, the Family Fun Days have now become part of our social calendar of our community. Over the years, these events have become more established and popular, and I am pleased to report that although we did, unsurprisingly, have to negotiate the vagaries of our local weather, all 4 fun days in Oystermouth, Newton, Males and West Cross were very successful and very well attended. And I feel that this demonstrates how much local people appreciate these events, and it is an excellent example of the contribution a proactive community council can make. Last weekend, we had another community event in the shape of the Bowspit Bash. The gods must have been smiling on MCC for this event, for even though last weekend was an incredibly wet, with it raining almost all weekend, the only break that we had in the continuing deluge seemed to coincide almost perfectly with the timing of the Bowspit Bash. The event was due to finish at 6 o'clock in the evening, and by 6:30 it was raining again. This again was a well-attended event, which, considering the weather that weekend, was no mean achievement. As we all know, Councillor Ria Evans put a lot of commitment and effort into organising this, but I think all councillors who've been involved in the organising of the events throughout August should take pride in what has been achieved. I think a special mention should also go out to our staff, who have often gone above and beyond in ensuring these events were a success. Claire in particular, I think, is now finding that August is one of her busiest times of the year, and her input is invaluable in the success of these events. Diane too has been vital in ensuring the success with her contribution to the coordination and administration of the day. Following on from this inclement weather that I've mentioned previously, we experienced last weekend, as we all know, last Friday evening, we had a particularly heavy deluge of rain that led to significant flooding and the need for some people to have to be evacuated. This is far from the first time Mumbles has experienced flooding problems, and I'm sure that it will not be the last. Although flood defences are not within the normal remit of MCC, Councillor Phil Keaton has raised the point that we should begin to explore how we can cooperate with other agencies to explore the possibility of developing strategies to mitigate the impact of any future flooding events. This would appear eminently sensible, and going forward, we should explore what role we as a community council can play in alleviating the impact on the flooding on local people. Unfortunately, I have to end this chair's report with a bit of negative news, in as much as that unfortunately Councillor Mickey Parkin has resigned, as due to other commitments he felt that he was unable to give MCC the commitment it required. I would like to take this opportunity to officially register my thanks as chair to Mickey's contribution to MCC over the years, and he is a sad loss to the council, but at the same time I fully appreciate and respect and understand his decision. Okay, any questions? Anybody got any points to raise? If not, I'll move on to point 6, which is handed over to Paul, the financial report for July and August 2020.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Obviously, as we didn't have a meeting in August, we've got a bumper edition this month covering July and August. So what I've tried to do is separate out each month. So the first 2.5 pages is all the payments that were made in July. They're all listed down. So if anybody's got any queries on any of those payments. Total, I think, just under 48,000 for the month. If no queries, then the next page then covers August. Very similar amount, although there was more payments, around 49,000 across the month. And then I've got the list of all the 2 Barclaycard payments in July and August. They're listed down for what we paid out. And then the income for the months is in section 2 of the report. Good to see the second instalment of the precept come in. So it's always good when you see that coming through. And the final amount of the Mumbles Fest income came in very early in July. That was the pre-sales via Ticket Source. And the skate park grant as well, the revenue skate park grant for this year. And the holiday food grant, which Kerry applied for, we got through Swansea Council. So that paid for most of the food that was provided at the fun days.
Excellent.
And then the bank balances, just over 500,000, which is good. And obviously that's partly due to the precept. And then the final part of the report is the budget monitoring to the 31st of July. It shows just under 70% of the budget had been spent up to that date. The committee reports, the chairs and the committees haven't got the details to the end of July yet, but I will get that done this week. So you'll have a more up-to-date position to look at the committees. So there's any queries on what's in the finance report?
Anybody?
If not, then there's two recommendations. One is that the payments made in July and August are retrospectively approved.
Recommendation 1. So we're all happy to approve that? Favour?
Two, and then that the budget monitoring report to the 31st of July is approved.
Okay, all happy with that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that report, Paul, very comprehensive. Right, so then if we move on to item 7 on the agenda, this is a letter that we've received from Clark Telecom to consider the pre-application and consultation letter as proposed for plans for Clark Telecom in relation to the proposed upgrade of the existing telecommunications installation at Mumbles Cricket Club. You've got all the details in your pack. The main reason I've included this into the agenda is just so that it's minuted, that it has been brought to the attention of councillors. So if anybody's got any feedback that they want put into the consultation or any points of view, that the people have been made aware. So are there any comments, any observations? If not, we'll move on to the next point.
Yeah, so just a comment, probably myself, Will and Angela, with our Swansea City hats on, will probably make a comment
Yeah.
separate from MCC. So if anyone does want to put, we don't want to influence
Yeah.
the council. So.
Well, that's very useful to know, to be honest. Like, I think, so if any councillors have got any particular questions or anything they maybe want to include in that comment,
Yeah.
if they can forward it on to you.
Yeah,
Unless
fantastic.
you want to do something separately, but I'm sure. So we okay then to okay that? If we move on to item 8, which is the Ostrom Centre Fire Risk Assessment. Quite a comprehensive document. I've been having a look at it today myself. I don't know really what to say.
Do you want me to?
Well, I was going to say,
a little bit
I haven't
about it?
had a look at it. I think it's a comprehensive thing. There's a lot of recommendations in there, all of which seem eminently sensible to me. But I don't, Paul, if you've got to fill in on the background on this.
Yeah, just some of the background. Council appointed a health and safety consultant probably 2 or 3 months back now for the Ostrom. One of the first jobs she did was to do a fire risk assessment of the building. Assessment for a long time, I guess, maybe first time ever, but I may be wrong there. What she's come up with is as the chair said, a very detailed report. There are, I think, 18 general recommendations, which are listed in page 7. They are the sort of routine things you would expect for the building. Things like fire drills and probably trained staff. And then there's more specific recommendations which were based on the observations she made when she did the inspection. Really 14 of them are high risk, which she recommends should be dealt with within a month. 7 a medium, which should be dealt with within 2 months, and 4 low risk, which should be dealt with within 3 months. So there is some urgency, I think, in us moving this along to make sure that these recommendations are dealt with. It's done obviously by a health and safety consultant, fully trained in the area. I think it would be it'll be something that we've got to really address. In Kerry's absence, I think what we need to do is I'm happy to take it forward until Kerry's back with the centre manager. So I think probably, unless there's any questions on it, I think we've got to accept those recommendations.
The most important things we can handle, or we have to get experts in to do that. How do we find those people?
Part of it is bringing people in, because there's things like electrical surveys, so we would have to do that. I know there has been electrical surveys in the past since we've taken over this building, so I think that has been done. It probably needs doing again. But we do have a regular electrical contractor that we've used, because they recently did what used to be called the PAP testing. It's called something else now, but they recently did that year.
I think having looked at the report, a lot of it is like common sense, just making sure that we've got fire wardens, making sure that the fire wardens are trained, making sure that we've got the right fire extinguishers. Particularly the sort of buildings that Paul made there.
The last time you met, fire extinguishers, did she tell us which ones to get? Does anybody know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's what I mean. We got all that, and also the thing about the staff being trained in, being fire wardens and what procedures to, what extinguishers to use for different fires and stuff like that. So a lot of it seems eminently sensible, and I think, as Paul said, really, I suppose.
We'll have to identify the cost. If it can't be found within the Austrian budget, then we'd have to ask for it to be transferred from contingency. There wouldn't be any other spare budget in his budget, so that's what I'd recommend.
Yeah. Well,
Do we then need to vote on that coming from contingency? If not,
But yeah, I think so. I think it would be helpful if that was done in advance, so then we can go ahead and book things up and not have to come back. I think the other thing I was going to suggest is what sort of reporting back to council. Is this something like committee, or maybe 3 months having a report to council?
yeah, I think it's 3 months on. Yeah, and I think, let's be honest, this is, really quite important,
Yeah.
really. As I sort of said, the thing I think I'm pretty concerned about this type of ball. So let's make sure that we monitor it, that it's implemented, and then the fallback will come from the.
Can we also recommend that any costs up to a certain figure, I guess, is met from contingency? We say 5,000 at the moment.
So are we all happy to okay this, what Paul has recommended? Sorry, Ian.
One of them is the clearing of shrubbery, our ground person will see to that. That's categorized as high.
Yes.
There's another one about a sticker. Well, we can acquire the sticker and place that ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's not all the items that are issues that have been raised need to go outside.
Oh, it's not things like we'll address that. Yeah.
And to be honest, from the reading I did it, I said, I would defer to your expertise in this area. There's nothing major. It's just a lot of infrastructure, really. And
Little coding,
yeah,
or testing and things like that.
that's it. And making sure we got the right fire extinguishers trained. And, yeah.
Well, that'll need to go outside.
Yes. Okay, so we're happy to accept those recommendations as suggested by Paul as to the type of.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Happy to accept that. Okay. So then if we move on to 9, which is Underhill Pavilion MCA response, I'll hand over to Paul on this one.
Okay, thank you, Chair. After the meeting on the 6th of August, special council meeting, Kerry wrote to MCA, and her letter is in the pack. A couple of weeks later, MCA responded. Martin Rodwell responded. That's in the pack as well. And I think his MCA's view was that they didn't think there should be a need to vary the grant agreement. They didn't think there was anything that was really changed by the pavilion being turned from a changing room into a bar. And on the basis of that, he didn't put it in his letter, but I did email the interim chair, and he has responded by saying he didn't think there should be a need for any legal costs. Because the final thing was that we thought any legal costs arising from this change would be met by MCA rather than by MCC. But the MCA's view is that there shouldn't be any. But clearly there will be, because we've already had to get a response from our solicitors, which is also attached. And I think you can see if you read through it. Our solicitor's view is that there has been a change. There's a number of things where he's identified that where the proposed change is at odds with the existing agreement, the signed grant agreement, in terms of the maintenance grant. One of the things he does say in his response, though, is that Mumbles Rugby Club would be running it as their clubhouse, which I don't think is the case, because Martin Rodwell did say in his letter to Kerry that it will be an extension of the existing operational hub. So it will be run by Underhill Management Company, not as a separate wing, I suppose, of the rugby club. So I did email our solicitor today, but he's off until tomorrow. So I haven't got a response on whether that would change his view. Looking at it, I don't know, but as I say, we'll wait until he gets back to us.
Okay, Rob?
Yeah, Paul, thanks for that. I would have thought, bearing in mind what MCA had come back with, saying that they be running it, I think we need confirmation that that is true from MCA. They might have a different take on it.
Yeah, I mean, casting my mind back to the last meeting, I remember personally thinking that the risk to the community council was incredibly low for us to change the grant agreement, right? And I still stand by that. So I don't see there any need, personally, I don't see any need to alter the grant agreement. However, council voted to make those changes.
Yeah.
And the clerk's advice was that we had to put, she wanted those assurances in.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was a big ask personally to MCA to put that small change in.
Okay.
Because it's no risk to them either.
Yeah.
The solicitor fees for just changing that one line should be negligible.
Yeah, I agree.
So personally, I don't really see what their issue is. So it seems a bit strange, because if they want to do it quickly, if that's the only hold up, I don't understand what's going on.
Well, I agree, and I would echo what you've said there, Will, is that my feeling is on this is we're getting advice from both our clerk and our solicitor that the agreement does need to be changed. It's not for us or MCA to sort of say, unless they've got other competing legal advice, which they don't seem to be coming to us with. But that is the advice that we've got, and something I've always said as chair is that when we get legal advice like this, we've always got to follow it unless we've got a very good reason, because otherwise we put ourselves open to all sorts. And again, as you were saying there, Will, I'm on a bit of a push here, because I'm sure we're talking about what will be negligible legal fees. So why are we having this discussion, really? And I think all we can do is go back to them and sort of say, look, our solicitor is saying this. We've got to follow our solicitor. You know, we are a community council. We're under scrutiny from outside agencies. We cannot ignore the advice that we're given. Sarah?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more. I don't think we've done this before. Let's not go off the beaten path and let's follow the rules of the solicitor, because we don't want this to bite us on the bottom further down the line when we find out that we owe all sorts of money or we need to pay lots of different legal fees. It's one line. It shouldn't cost them too much. If they're not willing to do it, we have to question why they don't want to do it. I really think we really should be cautious here. Yeah, we've cut our budget so much. We don't want to end up spilling out more money for Underhill for no good reason. Thanks.
Okay, Carrie?
I think basically, yeah, Sarah's pretty much covered it. You know, if they're concerned about it, then, you know, there's clearly something that we should be concerned about, because if it was all as straightforward as they claim, then they wouldn't be making a fuss about a small change. You know, we have the solicitor's advice. You know, that's what we pay them for. As Martin said, you know, we take their advice and we follow it. And I can't see any possible reason why we shouldn't be following the solicitor's advice. And I think we have to stick to our guns and say, I'm sorry, but this is what we've been advised. We, as you know, we are responsible for public money, and we are not prepared to take the risk that anything could go wrong. I mean, the solicitor says in his letter that, you know, he doesn't see how it could possibly ever run profitably. And therefore, you know, we cannot afford to find ourselves in a position where we are bailing them out. So, you know, I'm sorry, but we have got to be absolutely solid about this, and we have got to absolutely make sure that we have it very, very clearly written in that we bear no responsibilities for covering anything that has anything to do with that, the change of use of the pavilion.
Okay, thank you. Francesca?
Thank you, Chair. To be honest, it's made me question a few more things. Actually, I feel it opens up a can of worms. So I know I'm very supportive of the rugby club going in there.
Yeah.
I think we all were. Questions, and I appreciate we may not be able to answer, but I'd be quite interested to know, is there going to be a lease between Mumbles Rugby Club and the people running it? Well, do you know?
Yes, so it's the people running it are going to be Mumbles Community Association. It's still going to run the bar. It's just there's an agreement for the profits to be shared between the rugby football club.
So there will be no lease between Mumbles Rugby Club and whatever they call themselves.
Yeah.
No, just a
Well, it wouldn't be MCA because it's Underhill that are running out.
Yeah, if I could just come in there. In the chair of MCA's letter, what he said is that the new sports bar will be operated by UMC, which is a management company, who also operate the hub. And what there'll be a lease in place between UMC and MCA. It's not in place yet because obviously the lease for the park isn't in place. And once that's in place, then they will have this agreement between UMC and MCA, with the profits being shared, I think he says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still don't see, they all need to be following, because it goes from Swansea Council.
Yeah.
I'm assuming we're involved somewhere.
Swansea Council to MCC.
Yeah, then MCA to MCA, and then to there. All of that needs to be reflected in all of those leases.
Yeah.
So it's not
Yeah.
straightforward. So you need a head lease, then there could be like a sublease. So it's not straightforward. So if they think that there's not going to be any fees,
Exactly.
it is not correct. So that was my first point, is we need to know on that structure. So that is going to be reflected. And then the second one was there would be a change of use. Anyway, the second thing was when I read through the document that they sent to us, the way I interpreted that was that if there was a shortfall, say in taken, say they were making a loss, that's not when we step in. We only step in on the maintenance side of it. Not if the bar was running a loss.
Yeah.
we're not then responsible for stepping in. I read it as if there was something to do with the maintenance, that's when we step in.
That's what we were trying to get.
Yes, I would.
I think that's MCC's view, not MCA's view. I think they would see it all as one
Yeah.
whole
But
operation.
that's where we.
Because I think that was the point I was particularly trying to stress at the meeting that we had with them, is that if there was any shortfall in the bar, no way, no shape or form should MCC be underpinning that. Rob and then Will.
Yeah, I think this is again where we need clarification, because there's another tier, which is the rugby club, who's actually funding the project, you know, by the sale of the rugby club. So I would have thought, you know, Mumbles Rugby Club, as it is at the moment, is not going to go in into administration or into cancelling.
No.
It's still going to be in place. It's going to be renamed. It's going to be up there.
Yeah.
So where do they fall into this?
Will and then Pam.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's interesting to know where the money's coming from, but I don't think we really, as long as we're not paying for it, it doesn't really matter where the money's coming from to pay for the bar. Well, the only thing I'd say is, again, it's negligible, the risk of the bar, because if a bar, if it's not making money, right, you're only talking about 2 or 3 staff for the night.
Yeah.
2 or 3 weeks, it's not making money, they just shut the doors.
Yeah.
There's no risk element large risk to the community council with them doing this project.
But we had.
I know, but I just want to reaffirm that with everyone. This isn't like a big risk to the community.
But you know, we had this conversation and also, like as you sort of said, it's negligible to them. But I'll bring Pam in there in a bit. But I think we need to concentrate on what is the agenda item here. And the agenda item, I think, here is this about the change to the lease and who's going to pay for it. And I honestly think there's no argument for them to say that they're not going to do that. So let's do that first and then look at all the other things maybe afterwards. Pam?
Does the rugby club, are they happy with this agreement that would be?
That's a question that we need to approach.
So that was quite surprised when you said that, because they put the money in for it. So are they quite happy? Do they have the power to tell the rugby club, well, you can't do it?
You know, that is something I don't think that we can ascertain here because we haven't got anybody from the rugby club. But I think going forward, maybe that's something that we need to look at. Okay. So, you know, just to clarify things, I think, are we happy then to go back to MCA and say, no, there is a change and we want that change made and we're expecting you to pay for that change as well. Carrie, did you want to come in?
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of respond to Will. You know, he said this several times about the risk is negligible. It's not negligible. If they think that they can get £15,000 out of MCC, then they are not going to be bothered about worrying about closing the doors if they're making a loss. You know, we have to absolutely make it clear that we do not have any responsibility for anything at all to do with the sports bar.
Okay.
Whether it's a profit or a loss, we're not interested. We are not prepared to take that into consideration if there is any shortfall in their maintenance agreement.
Okay, I'll respond to that, but I do think that we're going off on a bit of a tangent here about what the actual thing we're discussing. But anyway, go
Yeah,
on.
I'll be very quick. I mean,
well, isn't that the change to the lease that we're discussing?
It's the change to the lease that we're discussing, but the point is are we going to stick to our guns on making that change to the lease? And I think we've agreed to that, haven't we? So anyway,
yeah, I think my response to that, Carrie, would be, and I'm not on MCA's side here. I'm just saying, would you really think that they'd run up a debt on a bar just to access £15,000 of MCC money?
No, they wouldn't do it deliberately, but what they might do is not worry too much about the odd loss.
You can let him finish.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, can we just then stick to the main point then?
May I ask, is that written into the part of the contract that we will not be liable for any losses? On
That is the point that we're making. That is the point of change that we're making. Okay? And that is exactly to clarify on. And so what we're saying here, we're going to change the agreement. The agreement does need to be changed. We've already got legal advice on this. We're going to have a legal team to change it, and they're going to have to pay for that. So, Sarah, I can see you've got your hand up. Is there anything else you particularly want to say on this before we go?
Just to reaffirm, Chair, we really need to just follow what our solicitors say and
Exactly.
not go off the beaten path.
Yes, that was the point I think we've made on window. So are we happy to vote on that? That we will follow the vote? Thank you very much. So we all agreed on that. So can you note that?
Yeah, I've got that, Chair. One other thing that was raised in the letter from the interim chair was representation of MCC on MCA. He did say that they would welcome a representative of MCC on the trustees.
Right.
But there's been advice in the past about there being a potential conflict of interest if one of our councillors was elected a trustee. So what he suggested, it could either be as a trustee on the board, as an advisor to the trustees, or an observer at board meetings.
Okay.
I've asked our solicitor for his view on that. We didn't respond to that point, so I can chase that up.
Okay.
I can bring it back next.
I think you need to chase that up. I did have a bit of an informal discussion with Martin on this some weeks ago. I don't know, my feeling is it makes a lot of sense. We should have some sort of representation there. We did because we had advice that we shouldn't have the person who was there shouldn't be a trustee, because a number of us have sat there as trustees. But now going forward, particularly as it's up and running, I do think that we need to do that. I think we need to seek advice, one from our solicitor, but also probably from One Voice Wales as well. But I don't think anybody's got any objection to that we should have some sort of representation.
Helen Mitchell used to be observer in the early days. Helen Mitchell used to be our observer in the early days, and she would come back and give us verbatim what had gone on, and that gave us quite a different picture than when we've been told.
Well, yeah,
So it really is good to have somebody who's independent.
it is definitely useful to have somebody to attend the meetings, and I think obviously having somebody there from MCC is going to change the dynamic of their meetings as well. So yes, I think going forward, are we all happy to do that? That we seek advice and find out what form that representation will take place. So happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, Sarah, you still got your hand up. I'm taking this legacy hand.
Yeah, sorry, Chair.
Thank you, no problem. Right, so are we happy with that?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, thanks,
Okay. So now if we go up to vote for exclusion of the press and the public, because we have a couple of confidential things, business things to discuss. All in favour of accepting that? Okay, we're doing the recording of EMP.
No, I know they're not, because I gave you earlier on that one.
No, that's okay.
So